Yo, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe and comment down below if you got any questions or criticisms about the video. Welcome back, and hello again, YouTube, for another one of these exclusive casts. It was brought up during one of the last videos in the comment section that people weren't aware that I actually mostly do Twitch full-time, so I just wanted to throw out really quick, guys, twitch.tv/basetradeTV. If you ever want to catch any of these live shows, I do a ton of tournaments. I do them all live. These obviously are from replays, but if you want to come check me out, head on over to Twitch sometime. I'm live most days at varying hours of the day, depending on what content and what region we're doing. So without further ado, back to the YouTube part of this. In the top left, with 0 APM there for a brief second, it is, of course, the Robot. It is the Dominator. He is Alphastar. And of course, we are back to the Terran version of Alphastar. His opponent to the bottom right. I am not going to say this name right, no matter how many times I try. So we're just going to try to one-shot this one. It's the Red Zerg Stekepanne. We're gonna call him caffeinated. It'll be a lot easier to say, or Red Zerg. But all right, I forgot to do some dad jokes in the last couple of videos, so here's the one to make up for it. Do you know why dark is spelled with a K and not a C? Because you can't see in the dark. This is, of course, Europe. This is, of course, the Masters League for Starcraft 2. And once again, it's not quite obvious at the time of playing this live to our Red Zerg that this is Alphastar. Now, actually, between the YouTube comment section and my curiosity, I've actually asked some resources and other content creators about some of the details I've been told I've been getting wrong with these Alphastar casts. And it does seem like a majority rule in this one favor, so a small correction of things I've said a couple of times was me asking out of curiosity, does Alphastar learn? Because honestly, I don't know. I've got no connection to the Alphastar team. I'm just watching these games alongside you folks. Holy smokes, it's a lot of APM. Are we sure this is the human? God, his keyboard just caught on fire for a second. But sorry, at any rate, going back to that, Alphastar is apparently, and again, I've not been given any official source of confirmation. This is me just conferring with my fellow content creators. This run of Alphastar through the ladder was meant to just basically be a test run. See if its builds were good, could it hold up, and obviously with these win records being 50 or more out of 60 games, yeah, they have held up pretty well. And supposedly, they'll take some time to reiterate different versions, practice it up, maybe then learn and adapt of what's happened on the ladder, but these games that were played, and any ones that are played, I guess if it's the near future, are not actually being adjusted based off of wins and losses of it playing on the ladder now. It will obviously tune into this later, but for example, we've cast 2 Zerg games now of Alphastar where the Corrosive Biles are almost comically bad, and it's not going to learn to be better at Corrosive Biles, not yet and not for some time. So that was a thing that I thought was really interesting, because I had just assumed this whole time there was some level of adaptation for Alphastar, but at the same time, I'm not surprised, I guess. The AI system is so wonderfully new and crazy, and I didn't even know about this. Someone pointed out when I asked about what gender should would Alphastar be, a guy or girl, basically, right? And a lot of people said girl, and one particular comment said Alphastar would probably be a girl because AlphaGo is highly regarded as a female robot AI in the AlphaGo community. I don't know much about that. I just know that that happened. So I thought that was kind of an interesting fact. I didn't realize people had already asked these same stupid questions with the other versions of the Deepmind AI, but at any rate, TvZ is a matchup I do love, and I've been loving watching both sides of this. We've seen, like I said, Zerg twice now, I believe Terran once, and this will be the second time we see Terran as Alphastar. It's gone for Banshees, which is by all means classic. It's doing a wall off, which I enjoy, because if you guys recall the last time we cast Alphastar as Terran, the wall was bad, let's be honest. It won the game, so I guess we can't complain that much, but the wall was bad. This case, it's not a perfect wall, but it does zone out half, so there's only one angle of attack Alphastar would have to worry about. But he's not going to have to worry about that, or she or it or whatever, because the AI is going across the map, and these Hellions look for some blood. Now, I don't know, there's that classic thing, do robots dream of electric, or do androids dream of electric sheep or something like that? And my question is, do AIs enjoy barbecue? Alphastar not getting too much out of this attack, but didn't need to. At the same time, there's not a lot of creep going on for decapitated Stekepanne. Look, guys, The other thing about that Twitch shout out earlier, if you don't know about me, I can't pronounce anybody's names. People subscribe to the channel and I feel awful because I'm like, thank you, at Thomi Ad Gamer, only to find out it's pronounced At Home Dad Gamer. So that's just the character flaw. Speaking of flaws, the wall to the south is great, but there's none to the right of this, so the SCVs end up getting pounced upon. He's pulled workers into the fight, which means he's going to lose a lot before he cleans up these lings, if he cleans them up at all. It's whatever. Look, the machine is it's getting to me. It's too human. It's too realistic. But will 12 SCVs die? Some drones might just be made to match that. The Hellions slip by everything. Drones being corralled around. 8 kills to 12. Not too bad. There's a Reaper up here at the main base, actually, which I think is a little funny. Kind of didn't even see him slip up there. But he does get surrounded and will be killed. There was, of course, the question of the Banshees. There is one currently in play, waiting for a second one to join it. Oh, excuse me, a third one to join it. 3 Banshees actually have really high DPS output, and to the point where they can actually engage the Queens, whereas one obviously can only run around, maybe catch a couple of drones. So this is kind of a cool thing to see. It is just 3, though. The starport, as you can see right before your eyes, is transferring over. Back on the human side of the field, a lot of production, but mostly a lot of drones, not a lot of army. So, while a fantastic worker count, and what will soon be an incredible income lead, which will hopefully lead to a lot of good macro, it could also slip away depending on how good these Banshees perform. Now, there's a Spore Crawler, so detection won't be the issue here. Layer's done too, so we got Overseers in a pinch, but it's still responding to this in proper timing, not getting caught out in the open like this one Queen just might. I mean, it's fairly limited anti-air. The Queen count is actually only on 5, which I wouldn't regard as low, but it's definitely not as high as you would want for a comfortable position to stop this. So, of course, the Banshees will be able to one-tap a lot of these drones down. Micro here should be pretty on point, I would imagine. I expect nothing less from Alphastar. Dipping on here, grabbing a couple of drones from this mineral line too. Staying so close to the edge of that Spore Crawler. Playing this pretty perfectly. Not too perfectly, of course, but playing it pretty dang well. Now getting away from some of the detection, and Overseer is required, so one of the Queens goes down. Second one soon to join it. Not a lot of transfuses, but does save the Queen. 1 Banshee dies, but 2 still enough to one-shot the drones. And this is actually a really unique Alphastar thing I think is kind of cool. Because I have cast more than my fair share games of Terran players. High-level Terran players, too. You know, name-dropping innovation, to say the least. They do Banshees, and usually it's 2, and sometimes it's not even with Cloak, and they don't get that much done. But what's been incredible about this attack is the consistent amount of drones sniped off around the sides of this. It's not a lot of big kills all at once, you know? It's not like these Banshees get in here and kill 14 drones. But they kill 2, they kill 3, they kill 2, they kill 2, they kill 2, and suddenly you're up to 22 workers killed. Now, because Stekepanne, I'm so sorry, dear viewers, because our red Zerg player had made so many drones, he luckily still has plenty after losing a bunch too. But this is one of those Alphastar things I think is really neat, because when we watch the games of Mana versus, Mana and TLO versus Alphastar, I think one of the biggest things the public took away from that was the interesting way Alphastar had overmade probes in anticipation of losing them. And I almost feel that's the same way he utilized, damn it, the 3rd Banshee in this situation, which I think is kind of cool. Because it takes 2 to one-shot the drones, and 3 is obviously overkill, but if you're inevitably going to likely lose one to the Queens, you've still got the 2 to fly around, and I think that is largely responsible why this was 22 drones killed instead of, say, 16. But, of course, we can see a little bit more slaughter before we're out of danger here, because there's 3 medevacs fully loaded, and I believe fully upgraded, too. Doesn't have combat shields. That's going to be missing from this, but Stim and +1 going to be available here for this attack. Now, there's Banelings, speed, there's Hydras out. I mean, our Zerg player has the tools to stop this. It's all about responding in time and getting there in the appropriate location. Banelings obviously can't hop off that cliff, although if it was the campaign, they could. Okay, rolling on over. Those medevacs are getting a little bit low. Unfortunately, the Queens weren't target firing them down, so it's going to be almost impossible to get the killing blows on these. Dropping a load here once again. And this is such a classic way to handle the cliff, and it's being really well executed. The Marines, they focus firing down the Spore Crawler. That was actually excellent. Hydra's now going to try and give some pursuit. Oh, you can fight this out, though, without the Banelings. These Marines have got the advantage for sure. Remember, these Hydras aren't going to have upgrades. Typically, most Zerg players don't go for the +1 ranged. There's a couple with exceptions to that, but it is mostly the emphasis on melee, even though you build Hydras. Of course, this melee transfers to your late game a lot better than range does. I'm a little bit confused where to send those medevacs. Of course, we're back at that point too where I didn't really highlight this early, but I'll bring it up again. You can see the control group set up here from our Zerg player, but when we select Alphastar, there are none. It is such a strange way to play, but I guess when I think what I've noticed out of some of these key clicks is it appears, and I could be wrong on this, it appears we mostly see the cursor and the lines actually show up when there's like a shift cue. Whereas normal drop methods and normal clicks, you can see here, there's not really a lot of clicking going on because, again, Alphastar doesn't really have a mouse to work with. But we'll see it from time to time. And this was brought up to my attention as well after the last cast, where I was a little confused if the Zerg player, whose replay I had gotten a hold of, even was Alphastar. But yeah, so while Alphastar doesn't have conventional clicking methods, you'll still see indicators from time to time. And I don't know if that shift thing is correct or not. That's just something I'm observing right now, thinking that might be the case, because it had everything to do with the way the medevacs are dropping. And as you see, it kind of just runs away and shift queued again over here to the right side. Speaking of the right side, top right side, it's got 3 more medevacs coming in, and oh my god, this player has got really solid defense. You know, Hydra's on the cliffs, Spore Crawlers have been up, he split his army up too. Really, it's going to take a giant parade push down the middle to, I think, break the Zerg's defense. Because the worst part about these medevac drops, they're not weak, but getting to their target is where their weakness lies. See here, wants to fly in, realizes very quickly how bad of an idea that is. A collapse here, though, a sandwich perhaps between these two armies. It's a few Hydras, but mostly a lot of Banelings off of creep, and I think some good focus fire out of Alphastar could go a long way, but decides to pick up in the medevacs instead and start flying away to the south side simultaneously. Both players are on top of this, and I gotta be honest with the reactions, but also the actions taken out of both players. I wouldn't even know this was a human. Our Zerg player is so on top of this. The reactions to these attacks have been so quick and so on point. Not losing medevacs frivolously or carelessly. And I think every action here at Alphastar, you can see, has just been very precise. But at the same time, these Hydras sure are a little bit late to respond, but that's just the weakness of them being on the ground. Drop of the main base is going to get cleaned up. There's another fight here to the top right. Once again, pulling away, barely getting out of there in the nick of time. God, it is so crazy watching this because, you know, I know some of you guys wanted to see the point of view of the camera from Alphastar last game, and I did a small clip of it. Let's watch this for a bit. I don't know how this looks, really. We'll just stay on Alphastar's camera for a moment. I'll cast the game from here. Of course, Alphastar doesn't know about the Ultralisk Cavern coming up, but picks up on those medevacs, starts clicking away. He's got these other medevacs to the top right. And look, I've said he too many times. We're just going to go with it, guys. I'm done trying to say it. I'm going to keep messing up these pronouns. Alphastar for this cast is a he, okay? Mostly because my brain works no good. But, you know what? I kind of expected this to be a little more jarring. With pro players, I've watched their point of view, and of course, I've watched many of their streams, and this camera is all over the place, starting from hotkey location, and Alphastar feels a little bit more smooth, a little bit more streamlined. Also, holy crap, that is a lot of siege tanks Alphastar got up while all this marine shenanigans was going on. You know, the actual trades, the resources lost, they're not actually that different, yet it feels like Alphastar is so far ahead. And not because of the bank. That favors is the red Zerg player in this case. It's that 16 tank count. That's insane. Normally, you've got like 5 to 8. And even then, that gets cleaned up very quickly by a couple of Vipers. The Ultras just soak the shots. I kind of feel like in this case, there's enough tanks out that they can... I don't know if I'm confident enough to say they would one-shot an Ultralisk, but it would be damn near close to it. Each tank hitting for 75. Ultras have like, what, 500-something health? It wouldn't take that much. It really wouldn't. Well, we're going to scan it for the Banelings. Grabbing the Vipers might be best in this situation. Parasitic Bomb goes on top of the medevacs, but unfortunately it was the weak medevac, so they both just kind of die and leave the Parasitic Bomb behind. But it's always a nice thing to do because one of the best ways you can disrupt a Terran, whether it's human or otherwise, is cut into the way they do their production. We got more starports coming down, so this will be less of a problem later on, but early on, you've only got the one starport to work with. But if you want to build Vikings to deal with Vipers, you can't afford to lose your medevacs because those definitely take some precedence. You cannot play bio without any medevac support. You know, for all the balance mining out there that people love to do, sarcastic or otherwise, it's not Terran having tier 1 units like Marines that are so good. It's the assist from the medevacs, and oh, this is the most human thing I've ever seen Alphastar do. Fly medevacs over top of a clump of Hydras. Now, luckily, he only loses the one, and it didn't have any cargo in it, but this one is the expensive one that has 7 lives inside. Anabolic Synthesis coming out for the Ultralisks. I love this upgrade. It's actually done quite a bit for the game in terms of making Ultras a little more viable, but Ultras are still not that great overall. And it looks like that's going to be pain. Oh, it's suffering as the other medevacs are now infected, and unfortunately, oh, I was gonna say, unfortunately, it looks like they're both gonna die, but survive oh so barely. But oh, knock on wood. Is that calling it too soon? These Hydras are hot on their heels. Yeah, he's gonna lose it all. Meanwhile, that tank count continues to just get up there. 17 tanks. Building missile turrets in the middle of the map. You know, it's so funny because it was on this map in particular. I cast a game of Raynor playing Terran versus Zerg. Not against Alphastar, but against an actual human player. And very similar moves. Just a lot of missile turrets and stack defense in the middle of the field. But finding that opening here with the depots, busts in, and any attack Alphastar may have wanted to do. Oh no! Getting choked in here at his base. It's a little bit tough getting back in when your tanks are single file funneling in slowly by slowly. Unsiege tanks will get the job done in a pinch. Obviously, you'd love to siege them in the best situation, but this kind of worked. The unsiege tanks have really good damage. At least enough to take on Lings and Hydras. Maybe not so much against Ultralists, but pop, pop. And the resources lost. So very close to one another. But a 6,000, almost 7,000 mineral bank for our red Zerg player. And 4 Ultralists coming up. I'm so sorry. If the guy who's playing this game ever watches this VOD, you have my sincerest apologies. This isn't a you thing, although in part, maybe it is. It is a mostly me thing. I just can't say your name. I can't say any names. But man, even on creep, it's going to be tough to use these Banelings. Blinding Clouds are going to be absolutely necessary. These tanks are going to zone out so much. With 19 of them set up, your Blinding Clouds cover half of them. And oh my god, this surround out of the Zerg's good. Even though Banelings aren't that great against tanks, they get the job done in a pinch. And as long as the tanks are taken out of the equation, the Ultras have a little bit more freedom. Now, there is the problem of Liberators too, but it's only like 2 or 3 of them. Realistically, this is not a big deal. Our player who had 8,000 minerals is very happy and I think satisfied with that trade. Alphastar, on the other hand, has some kind of random planetary fortresses. I mean, this does help cover the choke. So it's not going to cover this base, obviously, but it does help cover the choke. And with 3 planetaries in this location, it will take a very dedicated Zerg force to do some real damage here, opposed to the classic run-bys that we see. So I don't actually mind this. The Ibex cannon, what's it called? Yeah, the Ibex cannon hits for like 40 and it does splash. It's got the same range as a Warp Prism because that makes sense. Oh, we got Ghosts coming out. This is the very first Alphastar game I've seen where we've seen Ghosts come out of it. And I'm excited to see how the micro on this goes. EMPs may be part of this. Let's be honest. It's more about steady targeting more often than not. But with the one dedication to Ghosts, like the literal one Ghost on the field, and mass Liberator production, this really feels like this is more for EMPs than it is for anything else. I'd love to see nukes. If Alphastar nuked, I would scream. I probably shouldn't. It's like 3 a.m. when I'm casting this right now. But still, I would love to see nukes. However, unfortunately, all we get is a dead corpse. I also wonder if they'll ever give Alphastar access to skins. That'd be kind of interesting to see. I don't mean its own skin, although it would be cool to have like a super robotized army race, but I just wonder if it'll ever have like things like access to the war chest and such. But oh, nice abduct over here, another nice abduct over there. Parasitic bomb on the rest. Hydras might not be able to deal with the Liberators, but the Ultras certainly push right on through. Banelings pop off on all the Marines. Alphastar now in full retreat, and the Zerg player still floating like 6,000 minerals behind this. So remaxing is only a question of larva. Funny enough, that might be a problem. More hatcheries and some macro hatcheries might be nice if it's going to be a lot of, say, low-tier units, but making like 11 Corruptors, for example, that's fine. You're not looking to spam down spam units. But with that being said, that is the majority. Oh, that went from 6 to 26 really quick. But this goes very decisively from tier 1 and easy units with a lot of bank to using up most of that gas bank, which is probably a little bit more valuable at this point than the minerals. But again, I draw attention to the resources lost, and these guys are going back and forth. Alphastar, machine versus man in this case. And this is such a risky game. I really almost don't even like this move out of our Zerg because, okay, half of these Corruptors are going to become Broodlords. That's obvious. My fear is, though, that there's such an investment in the Corruptors right now versus an air army that might actually kill them. I do want to highlight, too, Alphastar chose to upgrade armor first, which means their weapon damage is pretty low, and Corruptors have naturally 2 armor. So it's going to be very difficult for the Liberators to do anything here. The Vikings will obviously perform well, and so will the Marines on the ground, but those Liberators, when maxed out on weapons against a Zerg player with no armor, they actually do surprisingly amazing damage. But in their current state, shooting for 6 damage a shot, getting mitigated by 2, it's not that impressive. Blinding Clouds are going down just to buy some time. It's never going to stop the Marines outright, but it does get him those Ultras in place at the same time. Corruptors dive in for those Liberators, most of these getting removed from play. And while Alphastar has managed to accrue a bit of a bank himself back on the other side of the field, I'm a little worried for a Zerg player. Yeah, they've got a really big bank, don't get me wrong, but they need to keep expanding, because at some point, like, these guys are expired. These mineral patches are gone. And frankly, all that good money you've been playing around so loosely with starts becoming a little more valuable. And where you're used to spending 4,000 minerals remaxing every time this game, suddenly you find yourself with like less than 3, and you can no longer fight. But more on that, we'll see if it gets to the point of attrition. Frankly, Stekepanne here, he's in a spot where he could easily take either of these two bases, or even the middle one. I don't think the middle one's preferable, because the Terran's always pushing down here, but it's an option for sure. 2 Broodlords are sent forward, and these are the most expensive poking units you've ever seen. Not. That was a joke. Don't do that. Don't expose your very important Broodlords like this. I guess hoping to bait out some friendly fire is not a bad move either. The big thing is with this being a heavier tank count initially, Broodlords were definitely the right option, because you either force the tanks to fight unsieged or they stay sieged and friendly fire most of their own army. I also highlighted our Zerg player starting to run out of money. He's got that bank back up. These parasitic bombs are looking fantastic. Alphastar not splitting through this, just clumping and kiting. Missile turret's going to help out a lot with shooting what's down in the sky, but these blinding clouds take care of those tanks, and without those tanks to fire back against the Ultras, these Marines aren't hitting for jack squat. It takes everything in his army to break this line, but the Ultras are going to finally fall. The Broodlords continue to push forward, however, and if these Hydras live, they can keep the Vikings at bay. Both players with ground to air being what stops this fight, and not the other way around. But I was just highlighting Alphastar's mined out of his bases now, too. It's a little bit rough as he's close to no minerals to work with, but at the same time, these fights, they've just been going pretty back and forth. That last one, the one we just witnessed, was perhaps the biggest loss of a fight so far this game. Back up to max army supply. I'd say better upgrades, but I mean, they're really spread out, so it's hard to say better in this case. But I feel like Alphastar still has a fighting chance and a very fighting edge, if that makes sense. However, even though our Zerg players just maxed out once again and used up a majority of that bank, I mean, these units are big deal units. This isn't like he's investing in infestors that are easily picked off and are maybe one-hit wonders. This is a lot of Zerglings that'll be turned into a lot of Banelings. The Broodlords have proven themselves useful time in and time out for these battles. And the Corruptors have kind of been the silent background heroes too, but I don't know about these Corruptors. I'm always so iffy about Corruptors versus Terran. They get the job done, but as you can see, there's not really Liberators to worry about anymore. It's mostly just Vikings being pumped out, 10 of them to be precise. So I feel like those Corruptors are going to be getting kited around for most of the battle. But I suppose as long as the Corruptors are taking hits and the Broodlords aren't, then the Zerg player is going to be happy. Nice collapse on this army, by the way. A huge chunk of supply going out for both players. But of course, it's a little bit more expensive for the player that loses gases, and that's where Zerg starts falling apart. Baneling's a little bit late to the party. The Marines get in here, but oh, good save by those Banelings. However, round 2 is coming as the Vikings give hunt. Those Corruptors need to be here. Those parasitic bombs need to let fly. Infest my children! Wah-ha-ha! And the Vikings do get taken care of. Alphastar still, though, on pretty even supply. I didn't realize +3 had been staggered out so long. +3 armors just completed here for our Terran. Oh, this might... I just looked at the timer. Time flies when you're having fun. This might be the longest, the single-handed longest Alphastar game I've cast so far. I'd have to compare it to the duration of Rainers. I'll do that in post, I suppose, but... incredible game so far, I gotta say. And again, no idea. If this was thrown to me in a tournament, I would have no idea this was not a human player. Some questionable decisions, sure, but I mean, at the same time, everybody makes questionable decisions in StarCraft 2. A little bit of friendly fire comes down, but these planetary fortresses, the extra ones are gonna help out a lot if those tanks have to unsiege and fall back. Planetary fortresses can hold their own for a very long time against the Broodlords. I believe Alphastar doesn't have building armor, no, so they can take some hits, but not that many, I suppose. Corruptor fight, trying to focus down the Vikings. There's really not that many of them. The bigger threat here are the Marines, and that's where these Lings are going to come into play. Everything flooding in from multiple angles. That planetary fortress, though, helping a ton. Lings caught up in a choke. It's a bloodbath. It's a literal bloodbath. The tanks are bathing in the blood of their enemies. There's so many corpses on the ground. And our Zerg player, who was in such a commanding position, now suddenly down in army supply in a pretty big way. However, these tanks can't shoot up. Oh, but here comes those Marines. And they get on top of the Broodlords. They get underneath the Broodlords, I should say more accurately. Banshee's here too, helping kill some of the Broodlings. Hilarious, but effective. Oh my god, every Broodlord here goes down. 42 army supplies, all that remains. I had talked about the Zerg player needing to expand earlier, taking too long to do this. No longer has that crazy bank to max out with. 9 Corruptors are coming out, but there's no time to build Broodlords. There's no way he's going to get Lings and Banelings in a great enough number to engage this army, unless he starts right now. But with 1,500 minerals that were banked, I think he was waiting on Larva. Now that he's got that Larva, he's building every single unit that he can to hold on to this game. 12 Broodlords on deck. 12 Lings, not many, but they're on the way. Of course, Queens with quite a few transfuses hopefully can help prolong this, but I was about to start talking about Alphastar taking another loss, finally, but maybe not. I don't think that fight was necessarily a throw either. That looked like a fight that a Zerg player could have just sat outside and camped all day, but decision-making out of Alphastar looking good. Stutter's in here with the Marines. Target fires down. The Broodlords gets out of the blinding cloud. Most of the Broodlords are taken out of the fight. Sure, there's a couple remaining, but look at the army supply for the Terran. Alphastar with these Vikings still in the sky. And what little there is left on the ground, sure, might be dead for the Terran, but there's so much command to be had out of this because there's no easy way to come back from this position. He's got Larva. I don't know what's going on with Zerg at this moment. Perhaps given up, perhaps a little frustrated. 2,000 minerals, 2,000 gas, and yet nothing being produced. I think this is just kind of, yeah, hands are off the keyboard. Frustration, I'm sure. Typing GG. Well, hey guys, this was a lot of fun casting the Alphastar series. I'm probably going to take a couple of days of break here from YouTube because I'm getting back to that tournament grind, which is a big part of why I brought up Base Trade TV's Twitch at the start of this video. I know many of you won't be able to catch us live, but that's where I'll be for the next couple of days. I'll get back to YouTube as soon as I can. So once again, guys, if you liked the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.